Hello, dear friends. Welcome to Shiksha Mantra. Today in Shiksha Mantra, we have go live. We have gone live for what? Because I have something very much important for my students to discuss with. So, what would be the discussion today? The discussion is regarding books. Yes, dear friends, books are very important. And probably we may say that there's no alternative for a book. But why? Why I have chosen such a topic? Why book is so very important for us to discuss with my students? Whenever we consider of books, we must consider them as textbooks and notebooks. Yes, dear friends, nowadays this term notebook is very, very connected with our studies. So today I'll discuss about my opinion, what I feel regarding these textbooks and notebooks and how these are effective in our process of learning. So the first point is textbook. What is a textbook? If you consider, a textbook is actually a basic book in which you get the details of the subject matter. What you are learning, you get the detail of it in your textbooks. There obviously you would find some example, some exercises, but basically it will provide you the knowledge, much needed knowledge on the subject. So, from our school, some textbooks are suggested. But for a textbook, the first thing that we get, it's a detailed knowledge according to our age, according to our class. But here in textbook, you get questions only and not answers. And on the other hand, what is a notebook? A notebook is only a help where you get ready answer for some questions. Now, what is important, a textbook or a notebook? But in between this textbook and notebook, there's another book that we consider as reference book. So, are they really important? What's about the reference book? Sometimes in your textbooks, you'd get description, you'd get explanation, but not in detail. Here, if you want to get the detail of what's there in your textbook, you have to find out something else. You have to find out a book where you'd get the details of what you have learned in your textbook. So, there, reference books are essential. But nowadays, I seldom find my students searching for reference books. Very, very few of them they actually consider a reference book for their learning. But what they are conscious of, I have found the students they are conscious of notebooks. They always search for a good notebook. I don't know how a notebook can be good. I don't consider that a notebook is good. A notebook is always a notebook. Why? It supply you some ready question answer. You get some ready answers for some questions. So that is a notebook. And I don't know what help these notebooks are, but they are sold and bought in plenty. They have a huge market sharing. And the market sharing for the notebooks are in fact greater than that of the textbooks. And if you consider reference books, they have a very frugal market sharing. So nowadays, these notebooks have found an entry into the realm of education, learning, and academics. So, what happens when you learn from a notebook? You learn some ready answers. There, a concept, what is so very vital, you must generate a concept for everything. But there you don't find a concept, rather, you find an answer. So you read this answer, you remember this, and you produce this in your exam copy. So this is only a production. This is not learning. We don't consider it as learning. As a teacher, I feel it. As a teacher, I just don't like these notebooks to be there in the market. Sometimes they are of help, obviously. I can't deny that these notebooks are not helpful. I can I have found out that sometimes in some conditions, in some situations, these notebooks are of much help for some students, for some particular sector. But it mustn't be generalized. When you have sufficient help from your school, from your teacher, your parents provided you with the textbooks, and if you demand, you'd get reference books. So why should you go for the notebooks? Why do you want a ready answer? It's a bad practice. I'd rather say it's a malpractice in education. When you get ready answer, you don't learn the components by heart. And what happens if you follow a notebook for mathematics? I have found students, they are following notebooks for physics, for chemistry. It's all right. There you'd get some solutions, but what would happen when you would be given a fresh uh, calculations, a fresh problem sum in physics or in mathematics? Will your notebook be of any help there? Obviously, it won't. So here you must remember, whenever you have to produce something of your own, your notebook won't be helpful there. And there's once upon a time, say some 5 or 10 years ago, there was a term that get associated with education, with schooling, and with academics, and the term is common questions, suggestions. You have a set of questions, say 20 or 30 questions, from which you'd expect uh, 10 or 12 questions, and they would form your question paper. You have longer questions to be written, so they would be sufficient for you to answer those questions by means of that suggestion. So you used to read suggestively, but now the government has found out this malpractice, and the question type has been changed. Now you face MCQ, SAQ. So what you have to do for those MCQ and SAQs? Obviously, here you have to learn everything. You have to learn everything regarding that particular chapter. So it demands what? It demands detail learning. Detail learning of what? Detail learning of each and everything that has been included in your syllabus. But there, even for MCQ and SAQ, I've found students, they are learning from notebooks. So they're preparing MCQ and SAQ from notebooks. So this is how the spirit of education is actually killed. You have marred the spirit of education by following notebooks only. So there, if you really want to learn something, if learning is your goal, obviously, if learning is your goal, you have to do one thing in particular: follow your textbook. Let us make a campaign. Let us make this a campaign. Follow your textbook, follow reference books, and say no to notebooks. Say no to notebooks, even for history and geography. And only you have to accept textbooks. It's not for the sake of the teacher, for the sake of guardian, but it's for the sake of your future. If you really want to flourish in education, in academic, if you really want to learn something, textbooks is a must. Don't consider notebooks, consider textbook. That's the message for this live session today in Shiksha Mantra. If you like this, obviously you are to share this with your friends and press the like button, that is the thumb, obviously once. And on the other hand, if you have question, you may ask it in your comment section below. And if you have stumbled upon this channel for the first time, you'd have the subscription button where you may subscribe this channel and wait for the future videos that's coming here regarding education and learning. We are returning very soon with fresh videos. Until then, bye bye, stay happy, stay healthy.